Hello, hi. Good evening. I am Erica Crowley, the Executive Director of MACC. Sorry we are getting started a little late today. I was stuck in traffic and got a little turned around getting here. I know other people did too, but I really appreciate you all taking your time to be here this evening for this conversation. Thank you to our panelists for being here and being willing to have a authentic conversation about the Asian community and some of the challenges that are faced by the Asian community and what we can do to support. How MACC can support the Asian community, raising awareness, but also offering real practical solutions to address those challenges. MACC is an organization that has been the leading voice for cultural competence, and we've held this distinction since 2003. We're really proud of the work that we've done. Our mission is to help organizations embrace, achieve, and benefit from diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are the premier statewide organization offering cultural competence education and training for behavioral health and healthcare systems, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions, businesses, and any organizations interested in creating equity and addressing disparities within their organization. We believe that discrimination of any form harms people, communities, and the economy, and MACC supports organizations in getting to win-wins, gaining understanding and skills and cultural competence, to increase employee engagement and satisfaction, increase equity and upward mobility, improve service delivery and outcomes, and increase the bottom line and impede attrition, all while receiving a return on investment that is measurable. We believe at MACC that everyone should have the same opportunities to thrive and not just survive. And so I won't take up too much more time talking about MACC and the work that we do, but I will shout out my team. So my team that's here, Wendy is the program director. We have Willie, who's over finance. We have Sarah Henry in the back. And then we have Dr. Jindal, who is a board member. I'm not missing anyone else. All right, I am not. And so our moderator for this evening is Dr. Cora Munoz. Dr. Munoz is the president of the Ohio Asian American Health Coalition and professor emeritus of Capital University, a Fulbright scholar and expert in transcultural health. She holds an advanced degree from Columbia University, Hunter College, and the Ohio State University. Dr. Munoz is an accomplished author, national speaker, and leader in cultural competency and minority health initiatives. She has published transcultural communication in nursing and served on numerous advisory boards, contributing to curriculum development and grant writing to improve health outcomes. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Munoz.
Thank you so much.
Hold on one second, Dr. Munoz. Okay, we should be able to hear you now.
Thank you so much, Director Crowley, and welcome everyone to this evening's event, sponsored by the Multiethnic Advocacy and Cultural Competence. And again, thank you to Director Crowley and Wendy Turner and Sarah Henry. They all worked hard to make this possible. I am particularly excited to really gather this community leaders so that everyone can hear the unique challenges that Asian communities are experiencing. As Director Crowley mentioned, I am the president of the Ohio Asian American Health Coalition, as well as president of the Asian Festival Corporation. I want to recognize Bontan as one of the board directors of the Asian Festival Corporation. We all work very closely with the Asian communities here in Columbus and across the state of Ohio, because our Ohio Asian American Coalition has grassroots community agencies as its members in different parts of Ohio. I have been with MACC for many, many years, doing trainings, and really what Director Crowley has mentioned as the desire to really look at the health of minorities and ensuring that that their care and the policies and other aspects should be culturally sensitive and linguistically appropriate. I will be introducing the panelists as well as the moderator. They were specifically selected because they've worked in their own communities on many projects, research studies, organized health fairs, and worked with various Asian communities. So truly, they are the authentic voices of our Asian community. As you all well know, Asians is not a monolithic group. Although there are commonalities, we are very diverse in language, religion, values, beliefs, and practices. I want to share with you at this point what HPIO has published very recently. Okay, the Health Policy Institute of Ohio acknowledges the diverse backgrounds and cultures of Asians in Ohio. And there are 293,387 Asian Ohioans, at least 38 ancestry. I mean, this clearly tells you that we are not monolithic, that the diversity within our population is really, really very significant. And for all of you who are interested, and I really appreciate your presence here tonight, you're interested in Asians. We know that the Asian population is growing so fast and so dramatically in Ohio that understanding their unique needs and aspects, cultural nuances and aspects that we need to know, especially if we are in the service delivery area or in healthcare. Okay. So these are the 12 most common Asian ancestry, from Indian to Bhutanese in descending population. Okay. But they are very diverse in history, in migration pattern, okay, and immigration status, etc., that you will all learn from our panelists. Our panelists only represents 4 of this Asian subgroups. Okay. Again, HPIO emphasizes that the Asian population has increased by 47% from 2012 to 2022, 47% increase. Compared to Hispanics, increase is 38%. The Latino population, 38% increase in the Latino population, 0.7% increase in the Black Ohioans, and 4% decrease for white Ohioans. Clearly, it tells us that the Asian population is going to be large in number, and it will really be affecting all aspects of Ohioans' lives. So in Columbus, actually, we work with 16 ethnic subgroups. So again, it tells you that Asians are heterogeneous. And we have Asian Americans born in this country, naturalized citizens, longtime immigrants, as well as refugee population. So the experiences in general are very different. In the health arena, health disparities do exist. Some health data in particular are presented in an aggregate manner, which really does not show that there are indeed unique health problems amongst these different Asian subgroups. So the model minority label is a myth, and we do not accept this as a notion that all Asians are good, high educational attainment, successful individuals, high achievers, etc. That may be true, and it is true in some of the subgroups, but not all. So if we really want to know and understand Asian population, we have to acknowledge that these subgroups need to be looked at and acknowledged in terms of their unique needs. This is the reason why we decided to have a panel as opposed to one speaker who could talk about Asians overall. Because when we talk about Asians overall, you don't see the real, and you don't see and you don't understand the real issues that each of these communities are experiencing. And this is why we have our panelists here this evening. So I want to introduce them, starting with Faith Jedlicka. Faith is representing the Filipino community. And you have their bios sketch, but I'm just going to highlight some of my comments here, knowing them very well. And all of these panelists, by the way, I know them very well, work with them very closely. And one thing that's common amongst all of us, our heart is for our community. I can attest that each and every panelist and the moderator, they are been working very closely with their own community and advocating for the needs of their own community. So Faith is representing the Filipino community and has really participated in several outreach programs addressing health and social issues in the Filipino community. And we have worked closely with Faith in many projects, including the Asian Health Screenings at the Asian Festival, where we screened 400 individuals representing all Asian communities. She also is the current president-elect of the Philippine Nurses Association. Very proud of her leadership, and really, again, her heart is with the community. Harry Pierre Curel represents the Bhutanese community. Harry has been involved in many community initiatives, most recently in a research project on mental health. And I believe this is one area of interest that Harry will be able to share with you. And he has shared his own journey as a refugee and really can share the challenges in the Bhutanese community. He's a professional interpreter and works as a community worker with OSU James Cancer. He's currently a graduate student at OSU in public health, and we're very proud of that, Harry. Melise Key is representing the Cambodian community. She is a doctoral candidate in health administration at Franklin University and doing her dissertation on mental health and experiences of Cambodians in Ohio. She's representing the Gen X generation of the Asians, and we're glad that she is here with us. I say Melissa is the next generation because we've worked with her dad for a long time in the community. So she's the second generation now doing the same work for service to her community. Nguyen Nguyen is a longtime community leader in the Vietnamese community and in the Asian population. She was a director of the Asian Resettlement Office in Columbus and is one of the founding volunteers of the Asian Festival. Now we've worked together for like 30 years already, right? And she's still working as a professional interpreter and community liaisons for many years. This is just my comment in addition to what is already published that I believe has been distributed in the flyer for all of you participants. Now, last but not least is Bontan, who's serving as the moderator for this evening's session. Thank you, Bontan, for accepting this invitation. And she also is representing the Lao community. She is a social worker and a community leader. Again, a heart for the community, particularly the Lao community. She's a former refugee, just like Nga. is a former refugee, and also Harry, the former refugee, and Buntan actually has served in several state agencies, including the Ohio Commission on Minority Health, where I first met her, and we've worked together at the Asian Festival now, I think, since the start, Buntan, right? 30 years. So thank you, Buntan. Thank you, Harry and Faith and Nga, for serving in this panel and for sharing your experiences so that everyone could learn from your authentic voices. Thank you. I'm turning this now to Buntan as a moderator.
Thank you, Cora. That was a very nice introduction. And thank you, MACC, for hosting this event. I am honored to be asked as a moderator for the panelists. Before I left the office, I spotted Ms. Wanda's email, and it caught my eyes. I have used her words to tweak it for today's moderation beginning. So she said, many things that I really like. So I tweaked it, and I would like to say this to the panelists. Your role as community leaders are crucial in this kind of education. It is a movement where we can find a solid principle of justice, the flowing currents of change, and the steadfast roots of resilience converge to create a world of harmony and prosperity. Together, let us work toward sustainable tomorrow, where everybody or where every individual, including you, and you, the audience, has the power make a difference. Welcome to the community conversation, the authentic voices from the Asian community, where the knowledge transforms into action and hope blossoms to change. So the next agenda that I have is to ask panelists. There are 5 questions, and I'd like to begin the first one about immigration and integration. Any panelists want to answer? I think that it's okay. I don't have to spot it, you or anyone, and you don't have to feel pressure.
And refugees are my experts.
Hold on, Nga. Let me go to the question first.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the question number 1. What are the unique challenges that Asian immigrants and refugees face when integrating in Ohio's society?
Thank you.
So I heard, Nga, you want to go first.
Yeah, because of my background is refugee resettlements. So that issue become pretty hot now since future President Trump chastised these Haitian parolee. They're not refugee status. And I want to do a definition of immigrant, refugees, and parolee. The refugees are these people who was persecuted religious, ethnicity, or politically. With the Vietnamese, we got that because of the US involved with the war in Vietnam. And the refugees are getting help from the government when we come here. We got to pay the air ticket back but we get assistance from the government. Immigrants are the family reunification, so they are not allowed to get help from the government from 3 to 5 years. Parolee, like a Haitian in Springfield, they are vulnerable for Trump to deport it. Yeah, unfortunately, because they're not eligible for refugee. They was in danger, but they're not approved as a refugee. So I heard that they are start moving out of Springfield because of President Trump going to get the seat. With refugee integration into society, it's very hard for us. We come from an Asian country with different culture, language, of course. The most difficult for us is language and adjustment in this country. Thank you.
Harry, you want to add on? Yeah, I want to add on. Thank you, Nga. Thank you for your response.
For organizing this inviting. Anyway, immigration and integration is a wide topic. If I speak philosophically, the immigration and integration process started even before I born, when I was in Essence. And this helped the community, our community, really when we fall in the problems. I want to thank to the scriptures and Holy Guru for this divine education, because when we're tough situations, we realize that it is the life that begins many, many years past, and it will go generation to generation based on our culture. So if we talk broadly, the topic like from the Bhutanese, Nepali or Bhutanese perspective, like our ancestors went to Bhutan in 16th century. They started working there as a farmer, teaching the community, like constructing road, buildings, everything like that, the infrastructural development and everything. Well, in late 1900s, the government of Bhutan turned that into an ethnic cleansing, and the cult was rather felt that is a threat to them rather than the nation building process. So when that was realized by that government, the people of the country started evicting out of the country. Finally, they make it to Nepal with a lot of challenges, difficulties. Many people were died in the jail, shot dead. The Bhutanese armies surrounded, the royal armies surrounded the house of the innocent people, beat them to the death, and there were a lot of unrest situation in the country. Well, in the refugee camp, there was another migration and integration was there. You know the situation in the camp, like many people died and many things happens. Finally, we got an opportunity, an offer from the Western world to be here in the US. Like when we got in US, like there were a lot of legal process that we have to come through, and we come over here in US. Like in the US, at the time we started moving to the country, it was 2008. The government was changed, economy was very hard, the time was winter, and everything changed, and the integration was very tough. Migration, both integration was very tough. Generally speaking, migration and integration is a tough thing to do even inside the country, but we are coming from outside. Cultural adjustment and other different types of adjustment was really, really tough. And you know, the challenges at the time was like microaggression, language barriers, and intersectionality, and like separation, segregations were there. Even now, you know, we are facing this in day-to-day life. Like in our community, the problem and the challenges, one side, the community, general community's perspectives that they are learning day by day, who these people are. These people may be the bad people, these people may be the good people, but our behavior, our work habit, our integration process teach the community that these people worth this country. You know, we are contributing in every sector. And this is building a positive environment most of the places outside, except some of the political speeches that comes during the time of political vibe. That's not a problem. but when we go to the general perspective of the community, this refugee and immigrants community having trouble and having intersectionality, contributing to this nation building's process. And we have a lot of problems during the integrations because of cultural change. You know, our food are changed, the lifestyle change. And because of that, the dropout rate from the high school is even 60 to 70%. Like the other things, like drugs problems, the other problems are like housing problems, financial problems, all these problems are there. I don't want to elaborate all these things, but I want to pinpoint the particular problem in job and employment. You know, the job and employment is one of the biggest problem today, in the sense that because of language, because of appearance, because of race, like when people go to our job, their job, like they get injured in the job, and they have to hire a lawyer to say that he or she is injured. Why that employee or why that community is not responding to that problem and compensating that? We have a lot of examples in the community. This is one of the burning issues while integrating. And you know, I don't want to elaborate too much on it. And the other problem is, in case of refugee, we have 65.1% unemployment. In case of immigrants, we have 39.9% unemployment in the country. And you know, because of this unemployment, people just sit in the home. Loneliness, a sedentary life, mental issues, and other challenges come up from there. And this brings the inferiority complexions because of language and because of a lot of other things. And I want to add one more point over here, like hospitals and healthcare systems. We have a lot of issues even in hospitals and healthcare systems also, like when our people go for the treatment, like the doctors and nurses, many times, like our people are neglected, our people are not addressed well, our people are mistreated, misdiagnosed.
Harry,
These things are practically happen.
your time almost over.
Okay, just 1 second.
We can, we can come back, to your comments later, because we're gonna, circling back the conversation. All of us will be comfortable and do conversation together today until we get resolved.
I'd like to add on,
How's that sound? Okay.
what Harry said about like unemployment. So I think one of the challenges is when it comes to employment challenges. When we come here in the United States, most of us are educated, but sometimes like our skills and our qualifications are not matched to what the US standards are. So some of us has to go for another education. Like, let's say we have in the Filipino culture, like in the Filipino community, we have doctors that would come in here, and because it's harder for them to like go back to school and spend more time trying to get their credentials. So they had to choose a different career path, which is like nursing. So those are one of the challenges. I know he had mentioned about language barrier. I've seen that as a nurse in a hospital, although we provide some tool now, which is like a online interpreter, but sometimes it's still different, like when you're making conversation to a person rather than like a camera. So, and then sometimes when we translate things, it's different on how this is being understood or perceived by the patient. And when they're in the hospital, there's a lot of things going on. So sometimes they cannot like think on what the physician or the nurses are talking to them, and they can't really like digest on certain things.
You want to add?
Yeah, I do want to add on to that. I think everyone pretty much touched every struggle that the Cambodian American community has faced. I am a second generation Cambodian American, so my father he's a refugee from Cambodia. So whenever I talk to anyone from his generation about what their struggles were with integrating and immigrating over from Cambodia, the biggest one has always been language. They come here, they don't really know any language, and the second is education. So he was a refugee from the war, and basically everyone that was high up or educated, from his experience, they were either murdered or taken away, and there was no education. So everyone came here, had to start basically fresh. I know someone had immigrated over, she was 19, but she was placed in 9th grade. So having to just deal with that and start at 9th grade but not know one word of English, that was one of the biggest struggles that she told me she had to face and to kind of adapt to. And the other issue that was really pressing would be just kind of what Faith touched on, was the employment. They had different jobs in Cambodia, but when they come here, the qualifications are not the same. So they would have to accept, they didn't have any money, and their skills don't translate over. So they would just accept any low-paying jobs, and that's kind of another reason why they can't get anything higher, because they can't gain the education that they need to gain these higher paying jobs. And that's all.
Yeah. Thank you, all the panelists. Anything else that you want to add for the immigration and integration for now? Can you see the differences of the different countries, how we migrated to the United States? From the first panelist, Nga Nguyen, from Vietnam, and Melis Key from Cambodia, and myself from Laos. These three countries will be the 50th commemoration in 2025. The US took a large refugees from Southeast Asia. And what they call, you heard, the boat people, the Khmer Rouge, the killing fields, you heard all of those from Laos, Vietnam, and Cambodia. There was massive killing. The war, it's just unjust. But anyway, when you heard about Nepalese, Bhutanese, and they also have similar lives in the refugee camp, just like us, for those that Southeast Asians. When you listen to Faith, you see she said she has to be in a different level, certain level, to enter the United States. If not, she won't pass her visa. So those are the differences among us. So far, for these questions, do you have any questions for the panelists? Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, kind of preaching to the choir, a lot of us came from that same background of, but what are we doing now, or are there programs in place to help educate or help facilitate better language for each culture or not? After these many years, is there somewhere to go to, somewhere that teaches this, to better compensate? Because what you're telling me is not very new. I've heard this before. We had a friend that's Russian. She was a doctor in Russia. She had to clean houses because she couldn't pass the medical boards here, and she just gave up and raised her children and became a house cleaner, and she was a doctor. So Is there anything currently that exists to help compensate for this in the hospitals or in the healthcare system for people that can't understand the language?
There's a lot to do in the 80s and the 90s when a big flow of refugees come out of Asia, Laos, Vietnam, and Cambodia. So we have the funding from the government to help them to integrate, which is the resettlement agency like us. We work with churches to help to ease them into the society. And the government has some English as a second language to help them with the language, and some professional helping with job. And the refugee coming in here, they're willing to take any kind of jobs. So the public used to say, oh, they come here, they take job from us. No, we're not. We take whatever we can in order to survive, because we come here with a bare hand, nothing. So this country open hands helping us, and we work very hard in order to be successful in this country. And now it kind of slowed down the refugee phase because of the government probably in the future will be worse. There's some kind of funding helping, but not as before.
Well, the question was, how did you get help when this kind of situation? That's what your question, right? And what are you better off now than before? Is that what your question summary? Yeah.
There's something in place,
Right.
that helps,
Not, to me, I am a former refugees and a bomb survivors from Laos. Same way, same life with Nga Nguyen from Vietnam, and also Munoz from Cambodia. My experience, when I came to this country, I spoke English before I came. Luckily, but it's still not enough. It was not enough to get a decent job. So when I came, I was recruited by my sponsor, and then just like Nga said, we have a sponsor. And my family happened to be Trinity Lutheran Church. They rent a place for us to live for 2 years. They gave us the clothes, they gave us the food, they gave us the house to live for a certain time until we become self-sufficient. So we hurry up and went to school, find a job, and helping our fellow refugees who at the time did not speak a word of English. They came from countryside, they were not planned, like Faith, she planned before she came here. They were not planned, they were dropped, they escaped from Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, to the refugee camp. You make it or not, you're coming to this country, or the other countries that accept the refugees. You make it or not, you have to go to work. Just like Nga said, any jobs. When I was at the Job and Family Services, I placed my fellow refugees into any companies. They happen to love it because one, they don't talk back. They put in the factory, in the light manufacturing, the light factory kind of jobs, labor, general labors, they took it. And then, of that, they helped themselves to find housing, to find the car, learn how to drive. All these, the community leaders like us, helping our fellows to become self-sufficient until today. And there are so many still needs these services. But our children grown, the second generation, like Melise, she's better off. Because she's been in school, she knows where she can get a part-time job to help her survive, and with her parents' help.
Well, excuse me, we have this we call Mutual Assistance Association. They're like a Vietnamese with MAA, Mutual Assistance, and Cambodian Mutual Assistance, and Laos Mutual Assistance. Then we helping our own people because of the language is no problem with us.
For free. For free. Yeah. Questions?
Yeah. Erica Crowley, Executive Director for MACC. You answered, I think, part of my question. Because I was gonna say for MACC, we know that generally as immigrants and refugees come, there are resources through Legal Aid Society to help with legal issues or legal status. There's Us Together, there's Chris, and other organizations that help with Jewish Family Services that help with housing and some other needs, educational needs if there are children, for a little bit of time. But when it comes to like English as a second language classes or housing, what are the needs of the community, or do you take care of some needs within the community, as you just said, because you speak the language, it's free, or what can MACC do, whether it's advocating to the state level for policy change, what can MACC do to help as new residents are coming, trying to immigrate into society, and you know what the gaps are in services. What are they, and how can MACC be a resource?
Good comments. You want to respond first, or do you want me to, anyone? Nga?
I think it is very helpful if you play like a liaison. Like if some agency come to you or somebody from the community say, oh, I need some such and such help. And if you can collect all of the resources, you can do the referral. That work the best for refugee and immigrants. Because you know who do what, then, yeah.
Can I add to that? Thank you for your offering and your comments. To the refugees in my generation or older, the folks that came with me, with Nga and Meli's dad, they wouldn't know, where is MACC? Where is Social Security Office? Where's Jobs and Family Services? Except for the ones that they already come to the bilingual or community leaders like us. Same way with Harry. People don't know where is the Job and Family Services. They don't even know the physical layout of the Columbus. Does it happen to your folks too?
That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
What's being done, because currently the stuff you're saying, it's always been that way, and it's always through the church or somebody to help. But I thought,
Right.
is there a government agency, or is there some form of something that says, this is where this is where that is, and
Correct.
yeah.
Thank you for that comments. For like I said earlier, for the folks that in my generation, the former refugees, the folks that same age as me and older, they would come to the community leaders like us. For us to physically meet them or take them, that say, it's time for me to find, to apply for Social Security. I am now 65, I'm ready, I want to retire. So who's them gonna rely on? It's one of us, the community leaders, to take them. Unless one of the children can do that, but they said they found very hard time for their children to take them because the children wouldn't understand what they need. Sometimes the children doesn't speak the language. They speak English after they settle here for many years. They don't know how to translate it. So they depended on us as a community leaders. So they came to us where, like Nga said, we have the Lao Mutual Assistance Association, Nga has Vietnamese Association, and Melis dad has Cambodian Mutual Assistance. Harry has his foundation as well. And Faith, you have, in Filipino community, you have a place that community can come to. Yeah. Would you like to make comments of that?
Addressing MACC, do you guys integrate with other minority programs or something so that, you can share resources and ideas? So, you know how the United States try to integrate the FBI, CIA, they should all share information so that everyone's on the same page. Do you guys do that? Like to say MACC has all the resources for the Cambodians, the Chinese, so that you can also have the same kind of feedback that they would have. Because, if you're Laos, then where you'd have to seek out other Laotians. But if other minority, agencies like yours would have a shared resource, so that if they came to you, you could say, oh yeah, you got to go here and you got to go there. Do they do that? Is there shared?
Can I respond, Buntan?
Cora?
Yes, can I respond? This is very,
Please.
very good discussion on probably the most challenging issue that we have in the Asian community is language, and that was already emphasized, and there was questions about it. So on a higher level, I think, because we're so diverse, we need an advocacy body, okay, to be able to identify the resources and then relay it to our individual communities through our leaders, like all these panelists here, okay? For example, we know that language services by law should be offered to anybody with limited English proficiency. And also, we used to have an advocacy body. It was the AAPI Advisory Council to the governor. And this started with Strickland and then Kasich, okay? And it stopped with the present governor. But that was a body that is like the liaison that Nga mentioned. We need to have some type of a bridge or a way to connect what is available in terms of resources, and then let each individual community know that it is available. The other thing is we should have, financial support for interpreters. We need interpreters. For example, in healthcare, interpretation is crucial to determining the diagnosis. If there is no interpreter, then you won't be able to really obtain good information, accurate information. So Director Crowley mentioned about policy and legislative efforts. We need that. There is a law as far as providing interpreter services for free, but sometimes, that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Cora.
Thank you, and I will be brief with my remarks so we can move on to the next questions. To answer your question, MACC has not, not with the Asian community. And so that's what we're looking to do now, is to build a resource guide, and so we can be in partnership with different community groups, to be a voice, to be an advocate as we work with the state. But so taking my executive director hat off, and I am here in my capacity as the executive director of MACC, I am also the Franklin County Commissioner. And so I'm with the Board of Commissioners. And what I can say is, we don't know, as we fund all of these organizations like Us Together, Jewish Family Services, through Jobs and Family, through community partnerships, and then Job and Family Services for translation services, which are free. I don't know that we even know at the Board of Commissioners who to go to in the Cambodian community, right? Or we know somewhat Bhutanese Nepali because of Councilmember Buon, but other than that, I don't think we even know where to go to be a resource. So outside of community partnerships where an organization can ask up to $500,000, and that could be renewed for over another 2 years, to be funded for all things community, we wouldn't know where to go either without building these relationships too. So I just wanted to say that from a funding perspective at the Board of Commissioners, we do fund through Job and Family Services, free translation services through CRIS, through ETSS, that's the Ethiopian Tewahedo Social Services. But even if the organizations that you all are a part of or lead, the mutual assistance associations, I haven't seen any applications come through for funding, but maybe you didn't know that that was a resource, right? So we don't know where to go, and maybe you don't know where to go either, but having this type of community forum opens up possibilities and opportunities. I'll say that.
Thank you. Let us wrap up
Director
this.
Crowley, last comment, Director Crowley, thank you for that. And I think the Ohio Asian American Health Coalition can serve as the body that could disseminate it to all of these communities, more than these 4 represented here. And we certainly would be interested in what additional resources and funds would be available for our community.
Let us wrap up this question. I want to say that all these years that we've been here, the community managed to find their own place to go. We, as over 300 families, let's say for the Lao community, they really, really want to have a temple. So we did that in 2010. Everybody chipped in. So we found a place, the old farm, barns, the old barns that we can renovate. So we divvy up the 100,000 something at that time, 2012. So we got that place to renovate it as the temple. So they have the temple to come in, gathering a center of the place that they can ask for help and worship every single Sunday. So that was one of the things that they did for themselves. But the problem is, we have, for each community, sustainability that is lacking. We ask for funding. I never get any funding from anyone. We've been applying. There's no funding available for us for the direct services like we asked for. But the truth is, the direct services still needed like we do for our people every day. There's no such thing as funding for the Southeast Asian or for the refugees today. Back in 1980, yes, just a very few. And for the organizations, I wish they would hire people, our people, the same face that we have, within the organization. so that they can outreach to their own fellows. So I wish that's what we could do. That's another thing that is sustainability can be within our communities. Let us move on to the next question. The next question is discrimination and racism. Panelists, can you share your experiences or observations regarding discrimination against Asians in Ohio? How can these issues be addressed? You want to go? Who wants to go first? Okay, Harry,
Okay,
go ahead.
To answer that question, the previous questions, like we have a lot of community-based organizations to disseminate resources, like Bhutanese Nepali community in Central Ohio, and other different organizations are there for our community. So let me proceed to this topic, like racism and discrimination. It is a very broad topic, like it happens in everywhere, in every place of the world. For example, in my country where I'm from, Bhutan, has a policy that people has to wear the national dress everywhere they go, even they celebrate their cultural festival. That is one of the racism, like they can't write in their language in the public places. That is the racism. So if at the same time, if you talk about the Palestine and Israel, there is racism. If you talk about Ukraine and Russia, there is racism. Now, if we come to break down to the US presently, like there is a lot of racism going on politically and everything, like political speech and all these things. But like, you know, exploring this topic, the ethnic disparities among the minorities and the low income class, well, marginalized group and economically disadvantaged group is highly affected by this system. For example, like, you know, every 12 birth, one mom is delivering a baby with a low weight birth weight and preterm birth. So these are the issues. And there is a study, like the people, one who is getting Medicaid insurance and people, one who is getting private insurance. The private insurance people having their baby good, they don't fall on that category. Whereas the people, one who is receiving Medicaid insurance has the preterm birth and low weight. It is because the qualified doctors belongs to those private insurance places. And the doctors are not available for these groups having Medicaid insurance because they pay low and the network, there's no available networks. And this is one of the systemic racism. The system segregate the people here. You know, similarly, like if I talk about the COVID-19, like there was a big hate among the Asians, especially Chinese descent. Like they have not done anything. They are very innocent people walking on the street and walking on the market. They have been hit and the security was big threat. Likewise, there are a lot of racism on the job and other different places in the country, even today. So the solution, this is what the very broad topic we can't discuss very much. Like solution could be interfaith group meeting and the cultural sharing, like this kind of sharing among the people, and performing diversity and inclusion in the job and other places, like develop the policy and advocacy program in the community for mutual, like multicultural programs in the community, and special reservation or quota for the affected group of the people, like for education and all these things. The process of navigating process of education here in the US is kind of tough for the people in the beginning, but when they get navigated, it is good. Like for me, I'm the example, like in the beginning when I was trying to navigate, it takes me like 15 years to come and start the education. But when I started, I'm very happy now. I'm enjoying it, you know. Equal pay and fair employment, that kind of policies needs to bring in the country so that there will be, the racism will be minimized. And school launches and school policies, language, curriculums, all these things, cultural adjustment. So if we work and avoiding implicit and explicit bias, if we work on all these things, I think the racism will be minimized. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Anyone else?
I think discrimination and racism, people working and telling that we have to get rid of that, but I don't know. I don't have much of hope because of the past many years before, the Asian people always get discriminated against. Even the public said, oh, we're not discrimination. I don't know. I don't believe that. Yeah, when I came here, I already speak English. I was lucky because I work for the US government in Vietnam, in Saigon. But people who doesn't not speak, they suffer a lot. People look at them like they're from the moon coming down, because they cannot speak, and whatever they tell us, we just smile because of our courtesy, smile and nod our head. Even that is a very bad things happen. So I don't have a much of hope of this issue be understand better and better.
Thank you, Nga. Faith, Melise, any comments?
Okay. I was gonna say, I can add on to kind of what both Harry and Ya both said. As far as racism, you know, you get a lot of bullying when you're in school, or I've heard of instances where at work where they get bullied just by their coworkers. And I feel some people might say like this is a taught, like you're taught to be this way or to have these thoughts towards these people. And I know the other part of the question was what kind of resources are available to kind of help with these issues, or what do I think needs to be done? And I believe that definitely a community education or some sort of support for these communities is definitely needed, just because, you know, like Yas or like Harry said, for COVID-19, there was a lot of racism, and it didn't matter what race you were. If you're Asian, like if me, I'm Cambodian, but to everyone else that had these thoughts and had this viewpoint, I was Chinese, and I was the reason why, you know, we had COVID-19. So it's definitely something that the people going through it definitely need the support, and we need advocacy groups, and just, I feel there needs to be more education, because hearing about bullying in school, especially like high school, middle school, even now, it's very concerning, because, you know, they have to hear these thoughts and these viewpoints from somewhere, and it's usually either an adult in their life or someone, you know, older than them that's saying these things, so they think it's, you know, okay to say to these individuals. So definitely need community education and some sort of support group or advocacy group for our communities. Thanks.
Thank you, Melise. Faith?
When it comes to like racism, I've not really like experienced it, but I have like a friend, actually I was thinking about when I read this question, one of my friends, she shared how when she came here in the US, and she's a nurse, and she's going through her orientation, and they have this expectation of her, but since there's a big difference of the population you serve here in the United States versus in the Philippines, I think she was not given enough time of her orientation, and when she came in here, that's the job that she's expected that will sustain her family, but they said that she did not pass her orientation, and told her like, you better find another job. So I feel like nowadays we have support with the different hospitals, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. They given more support to nurses that would come in here. Like this is, I'm speaking like with my background, like with the nurses that's coming in here, they have been given orientation on what is going to be the culture. Let's say if they're going to be assigned in Ohio, they talk to them about what is going to be expected when they come in here, culture or weather. So there are some of this that are now placed with this new, like with the nurses. And also I know Melissa had mentioned about education. I think if we look, the Asian festival is kind of, I feel like that's one of a different way of looking like the Philippine, like the Asian culture. Like if we go to like the Asian festival, like there's different like booths for the different communities in there and learn like their culture. I think that's one of like a good way to educate the community on what we have and like what is our background.
Thank you, Faith. I think we can wrap up this questions unless the audience has any questions asked of panelists. No? Okay. I think because we are passive people, we are not as, should I say, active. We are not assertive as most of the Americans. So to address these questions, we're gonna have to do well as Asian. We have to carry ourselves well. Like we have Asian festival, and Asian festival demonstrate a lot of Asian culture. At the Asian festival every year that we put out during May, which is next year will be May 24th, 25th, 2025. Each Memorial Day weekend for 30 years, we put out Asian Festival that has demonstrate all the Asian cultures, performances, health screenings for the Asians, many event services that could available to the Asians. So, we try to display ourselves, carry ourselves to our best, for other people not to hate us or discriminate against us. I think that's what we want to put out there. All right, let us move on to the next question. Comes to mental health. How does the Asian community in Ohio perceive mental health, and what resources are available to support it? Who wants to go first? Anyone?
I can go.
I know Melise studied about this mental health.
This is my main subject for my dissertation, like my main focus. So from the Cambodian community standpoint, when it comes to the older generations, like the first generation and above, like anything over, I guess, like my generation, I feel there's still a stigma. People view mental health as kind of, oh, there's something wrong with you, or there's shame, or, it's not real. But the younger generations, I feel, are more accepting of mental health issues and more aware, like, yeah, that's a real thing, that can happen, and it's normal, and there are ways to combat it, and there are ways to treat it. So as for resources, I know there's plenty of resources that I know the Ohio, it's an Asian American Coalition. There's a resource guide that we have here that outlines all of that. So feel free to take a look at that. But I know there's tons in there for me to name, but there are resources, but I think the issue is people just aren't aware of what the resources are or where to even look for it. So that might be a good thing for MACC to kind of help with as well.
To the Vietnamese community, that the kind of mental health is something it's shameful to the family. To our elderly people, if the one member of the family get mental, that means your ancestor doing something wrong. Now it passed on, you have to get the consequences of that. So if in a family has some member get the mental health problem, they hide it real well. that that person is not get out of the house, stay in the house, not contact with anybody. So they don't seek for help because of if other people know that, and then they will say, oh, that family must be nasty or something before, and then now the children got it. Coming in over here, we try to utilize these religious people, like if the Buddhism, we seek for the reverend from a temple, or the Catholic, we're looking for priests in order to interfere and helping. But spread the word around, no. And if we come into, yeah, there's the different OSU and Riverside has some center help, mental health to help, and then they have interpreters with the language to help the patient. But that is something, it's very secret to the family.
Thank you, Nga. Harry?
Okay, so, both the speaker mentioned like the same thing in our community as well, the Bhutanese community. The mental health is viewed in a different way, and people are in big intersection. One way it is a big taboo, and other way like, the prestige of the family is in stake. Like that particular family or that particular person is rejected from the social gathering and public places, and his voice is not heard, and like it is not taken as like here, simple people go to the mental health doctor to get refreshed and get some kind of education. It is taken in a different way in American world. Whereas in Asian world, until and unless the people is too much out of track, that is not considered as a mental health. So, people do not talk and share that publicly. And if they found that, the whole family is blamed. Anyway, today, the Bhutanese Nepali community or Bhutanese community in Central Ohio or in US is badly affected by this problem. Statistically speaking, like we have 24.4 people in 100,000 people is affected by this. And if we talk about the national data, like 12.4 people every 100,000 people are affected by this one. So it is one of the highest suicidal rate, and it is keep on going. The other, like we have a lot of problems in this one. There are different types of studies based on these and different types of data that we can find. And one study shows that like anxiety is 19%, 21% depression, 4% diagnosed as mental health issues. People do not come up with that one, even though people has that problem, but they don't say that one. And the other study shows that 25% of the people has got moderate, severe range of anxiety disorder. The other one says that 17% disorder, mental health, the depression disorder. And the other one says that 6% like stress disorder. So the risk factor over here in this community is post-migration issue. The other one is language difficulty. The other issue is like support from the socioeconomic status and the society is affected. And because of that, the people, like the situation of the people is very difficult, the cultural shock and the political issues. People are still in the jail, and the torture that was given to the people during that time, that period, is still reflecting on their life now. So these are some of the issues, and all of the issues comes like one after another, and the people are highly affected in the community because of this one. And the solution could be like national language-based media. Like we are here from Asian community today. We don't have any language-based media until now. It's a good time for us to coordinate on this issue and start our social media where people can be educated in their own languages, And like this can be one of the solution for the program. And other one is like protecting the places like temples, as Buntan mentioned before, or the public spaces, like where people could go and express, people could go and pray for their faith and all these things, like we can advocate on this one. And other things like in our schools, we can include our culture, food, dresses, and like the languages and all these things. So if we do this, like, we will be able to work on that one to minimize the problems. And we have some of the resources in the community. Our resources is like Ohio Asian American Health Coalition, Cora's organization. They are translating the materials every year, like distributing the materials in the community on language-based material. The other one is like Bhutanese community in Central Ohio. They are doing the mental health, navigating cases and like connecting them to the doctor. The other one is Central for New American, and the other one is ETSS, Ethiopian Tewahedo Social Services. Other one is like Asian Community Services. These are some of the resources in the community. Like they are working day by day to navigate and solve these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Faith, you want to add real quick?
Yeah. I just want to mention about some of the programs that I had worked with Ohio Asian American Health Coalition when it comes to mental health. Back in 2023, we did a lunch and learn. We had talked about like the different mental health problems that we had, but we have speakers at that time also that was willing to share their experiences when it comes to mental health. It was like a safe space and kind of like share like from different communities, like how they are able to get resources from the community and help, and how the Asian American Health Coalition have like kind of guided them in understanding this kind of mental health issues.
Okay. Thank you, Faith. Audience, you have any questions, follow-up questions? Yes, sir. Microphone, please. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, mental health has been a very, within the immigrant populations, particularly Harry was mentioning about the ratio per 100,000 within the community and the national level. And this has been a burning out there. Put to the panels and anyone in the audience can share anything, any initiative that is coming in Central Ohio in terms just not for the treatment, but also for the preventive care. Because a lot of time when we see that the preventive activities or preventive program to prevent them to get into the mental health, there are a lot of data and studies that preventive any programs that could prevent them to get into mental health has a high success rate than to treat the people who's already been affected. So anybody can share any resources, any preventive measures that the community has in Central Ohio.
Thank you. Let us wrap up these questions. If you don't have any more comments or questions, I think our community. Oh, okay, go ahead. Okay.
I think this is uniquely Asian because it has to start from inside, not outside. Because we live in the, we're brought up with the culture of shame. That's got to change. So, I know that there's maybe resources and stuff, but I do know it has to change completely within Asians to change that. Because I had an aunt that was schizophrenic. We didn't know that for years. And, until she died, we didn't know that our whole family treated her like she was crazy. And, it's very shameful to have a schizophrenia. We didn't, and that had nothing to do with outside race. It was just the whole culture of shame that you just could not do that. So this is, I think, uniquely Asian and solved internally by Asians because of the way we're brought up.
I think you are right. With the background that we have, are former refugees. In many communities, refugees and immigrants, we went through wartime, we went through refugee time, refugee camps area time, we went through resettlement time here in United States. And who doesn't have mental health problems? I think all of that adds up. I think it's to our communities, all of them that we spoke with, they are, I think it's mental health is a silent killer to our community. And the gentleman that spoke about inner self, we have to work within ourselves, within our own, with our own community. So the temple maybe could be the treatment, like you said. How can we educate our people to seek help from professionals? Hopefully, Melise will be a counselor pretty soon, and we can refer our people to her. Or maybe we can find a psychologist or psychiatrist. You know what I'm saying? English is not easy. I speak the English all my life and still not good, never good enough.
Can I comment, Buntan?
Sure, go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, Cora.
There was a comment about preventative care. Absolutely. We really need to talk about prevention. In other words, promoting mental health before we can really know how to treat mental health. The Ohio Asian American Health Coalition, thank you for all your comments, has been supported by the OMAS, Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services, for several years now. And Melis pointed out the translated information that we have, but we have had several programs and projects that are specific to the Asian subgroups. As an example of what Faith had mentioned, we had those small groups to talk about in a safe space about their experiences in their own cultural, their own cultural background. But I want to say that right now we are involved in two research projects for Asians in mental health. One is an assessment of all the various mental health problems, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. It's a big project. And some of the panelists have been involved in recruiting participants to respond to those assessment tools. Once we get that analyzed, then we will know the incidence of mental health issues in Ohio, because it's statewide. Then we can then develop preventative programs. So that's one way. And then the other thing I want to mention is next year, we just got funded again by OMAS, and we will have a lot of programs in the community for promoting mental health and focusing on different groups. There will be for the teenagers, because their issues are different, for parents and their children, and then the elderly and those working, etc. And lastly, it is true that we need more mental health practitioner from the Asian community who can really relate to the cultural nuances and address the stigma and the shame and the embarrassment. Okay? So Ohio Asian American Health Coalition has put together a directory of all Asian psychologists, psychiatrists, social worker, counselors, therapists in one directory that we can distribute it, and it's available on our website, so that if you need someone to help in a mental health challenge, you can refer to that and you can find where they are in which part of Ohio, because this is all the state of Ohio practitioner. Not enough. We need to work on more Asians in the behavioral health field. I'm a psychiatric mental health, so I know there's not a lot of Asians in this area, but we need to advocate for this.
Thank you, Cora. Erica, you want to?
Well, she took some of my thunder. Thank you, Dr. Cora. I was going to say something similar, so I won't repeat what she said, but MACC was funded by OMAS, and one of the things that we are looking to do is partner with at least 75 faith-based leaders to really try to integrate in different communities. We know that in order for people to feel comfortable, they're usually comfortable with a faith leader that's trusted. And so, and we're not going to go into a community unless we're invited in, but we want to partner with different faith leaders. So if you know someone, or it might be you might be a faith leader, or you might have a faith leader, please send their contact information, or at least give us their name, because we want to work with them, specifically on mental health, overdose, and suicide. But just like the Black community, is stigma. I grew up in an era where we didn't talk about mental health. Like, you don't talk about what goes on in the house. You don't share that with other people, and it doesn't do anything but perpetuate trauma and things like that. And so we know that stigma exists in other communities. Thank you, Nha, for saying, what it is in the Vietnamese community. And so far be it for us at MACC to come in and be like, hey, let's talk about mental health. We know that almost every single person in this room probably suffers from depression or anxiety or something. But if you come from a community where, no, that means historically something was wrong with your family and it got passed down, and that it's not necessarily mental health, but it's seen as something else, there's nothing that MACC can do there. But if we could partner with a community leader who understands that community and the challenges that they face and stigma, then we can be a better resource. So that is what MACC is here to do. We want to get upstream on preventative, but understanding that different communities have cultural nuances that we have to navigate. So it's not like we're not trying to do the work, but also we need a door into the community.
Thank you, Erica. We are recording this on the record, right? We're going to have a report out, correct? Yes. Okay.
Hi, one sec. The nuance you are mentioned, that is very important. Yeah, because even each family, it's different too. Yeah, and then the community, but you have to get to find the very trusted people. Otherwise, if they find out something, then you can never get to them. That too. That's what I mentioned about the temple and the Catholic priests, if they are Catholic, and then Buddhism, or the community has to get a very high trustworthy person in order to talk.
Let us bring to the conclusion to this question. Oh, okay, yes.
I want to add
Go
a very
ahead,
quick
please.
thing. Again, my name is Siam Mishra, and I am from Bhutanese community. I'm a Nepali-speaking individual, and I've been here in this Columbus area for almost 6 years. I moved from Vermont. And initially, I came to this country in 2009. I came to Arizona. As a mental health caseworker way back in the refugee camp, I personally used to work as a mental health caseworker. And being served in the refugee camp for 18 years, I came to Arizona and worked as a mental health caseworker again for a year and a half, and then moved to Vermont and work with developmentally delayed individuals with mentally retarded people in Vermont for 8 years as a case manager. I'm connecting these things to the, how do we have enough people? Do we have trained people to work with these needy people? 100% no. The reason I'm saying no is I applied for job in Franklin County, DOD services, and I got rejected thinking that I'm a different face or I don't speak fluent English. So I ended up working in the company. So As of today, in our community, in the Bhutanese Nepali speaking community, we have only one psychiatrist in the nation. We have a handful of MDs, and we have a lot of RNs and LPN, but we have just one psychiatrist who speaks our own language. He's in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, where do we go when there's a problem in the family? Harry mentioned, and the panel mentioned that, yes, we need a lot of advocates and outreach individuals, liaison to, outreach the family and bring the problem to the medical doctor professional. But if I have a mental issue, depression, anxiety, PTSD, trauma, whatever, who is going to understand my language? Is my MD in Ohio Healthcare or OSU understand my language? No. I'm a certified interpreter, I interpret. But when I have to interpret the counseling terminology, a person who is going for counseling, if I have to translate that vice versa, there is no way I can translate that as a certified interpreter. So how we can uplift our community member who has at least that background, that they have been working for that so many years in that field. Is there any way to uplift those people to work in the community for advocacy? So it is very emerging issue in the Greater Columbus area because we are around 30 to 35 plus Bhutanese refugees in this Greater Columbus, around 35,000 people living here in this Greater Columbus. So as a mental health case worker, I was disqualified for this position. So who is eligible? Who is getting that job and who will be able to work with the community? It's a very challenging situation. So I think it's a very good forum to discuss and get more ideas and input so that we can minimize the issue. But as of today, it's emerging, and CNA, BCCO, different kind of organization, they are helping back and forth, day and night for the needy people, but they don't have enough, resources and provider to help the needy people. So, I love that I want to be a part of this team and meeting, get together and do discussion as needed. But I think we have to come up with the bigger group discussion to approach to the state level. Okay, is there any way state government can help us? Is there any way federal government can help us to solve this problem? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that, for the recommendations, for the understanding the problems that we have. I think for this subject, it's pretty deep from inner, and we have a lot of work to do. I'm glad that the Ohio Health Coalition has also a way to go. They're still doing assessment from the communities. All of us, community leaders here, had participated in the survey that they are conducting. So, we leave it to the audience right there to keep us in mind how to solve this problem. Just like you explained, hopefully that we will become a healthy mental health community in the future. Let us move on to the next one.
Montan, can I have a comment just from the other?
All right, Cora, go ahead, please.
Just very quickly, clearly there's not enough mental health professionals. And if we have, like this gentleman who just telling us that he has done this in Vermont and Arizona and many places, experienced but still could not have a job. There is a program, some of you might probably heard of the mental health first aid. This is a certification program, an evidence-based curriculum to train lay person. You don't have to be, a psychologist or a social worker, counselor. lay people who knows their community that can be trained so that you will know how to respond to mental health challenges before it becomes a crisis. So if anyone's interested, just Google mental health first aid. Okay, there is an agency in northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. It's been funded by OMAS, who's doing this. And I mentioned this also to MACC, that we really need to do more of the mental health first aid training for lay people, and specifically for for Asian community in the different subgroups, considering all those cultural nuances. I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you, Cora. I know for sure that we have a lot of work to do on this subject. Let us move on to economic opportunities. For us as Asians, as Southeast Asians, can we elaborate? What are the opportunities? What barriers do Asian individuals and businesses face accessing economic opportunities in Ohio? Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Okay.
One thing I see is knowledge on regulations and laws. I know, like, when someone wants to start a business, like the resources, I think they don't have anyone to guide them. I think that's one of the challenges that I see when Asians wanted to pursue their own businesses. And also the cultural differences. So creating a network is also another thing that I see as a problem for Asians when they wanted to create their own business here.
Okay. So I want to add, having said that, we need to have the opportunity to transfer our business, our ideas, our way of doing business in the US. Like the practice that we do back to home and the practice here is different. One way, we are not economically very efficient and we don't have enough capital to invest in the business. So the things like logistic, like the buildings and all these things, rent and all these things is very high. On top of that, there are insurance and all logistic. But for example, I want to give one example. Like there is a rye farm in the northern Ohio, north side of Columbus. Like we need to go half an hour to 45 minutes from here. And that guy bought a piece of land, and he started cultivating there. He grows a lot of corns, peppers, hot peppers, squash, pumpkins, and a lot of vegetables and a lot of things like that. He applied a unique technique where the other people did not do that one. He grows a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and he sells those. So he is giving hard time to the businessman, one who is running their business, to sell their vegetables because he is cheap, is fresh, is very friendly. So people go there. So we can bring that type of technique. Like, for example, we have a lot of fruits and vegetables that are not available in the US. That the transfer of plant, the regulations and system and policy, if we develop that and if we start cultivating that one way we contribute to the local economy, other way we contribute to our health as well. So this kind of innovation and explorations, if we go and invest in our business, we will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Anyone want to add? We have very few minutes to wrap up to our last questions. We ran out of time.
I don't really have much to add besides what Faith and Harry talked about. Besides, I know another barrier to economic opportunities, it stems back to language. And this is more for the older generations. They are unfamiliar with their language, so they aren't able to really navigate the job opportunities or find anything, just job applications. And I know the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services offers, support and resources, but that's just one barrier that sticks out to me is like a lot of these folks don't really know where to apply or how to look for even look for job opportunities, even if they are qualified or they have the experience to get a better paying job.
Yeah, I think employment is kind of a little bit different. I mean, difficult for people because of the language is the most, and then the law. Yeah, in our country is a lot different from here. So somebody come here, they didn't know that the law requires such and such and such, and they go ahead and do that and find out that no, it's not. So it's a lot of disappointment on that. But with the manual work, we don't have any problem. We're willing to get any job in order to survive in this country.
Thank you, panelists. Audience, you have any questions, comments for us on this economic downturn? Yes, sir.
Just 1 minute.
I can just tell you from my experience, I just got my certification for MBE, and it was grueling. It took 6 months, and I'm college educated, and I had to get the help with my navigator and my accountant and bookkeeper to get all that stuff done. So, you know, when I finished it and got it, I just kept thinking to myself, if you are a minority and can't even speak the language, this is an impossibility to get this certification from the state. So it's just a comment to say, yeah, it's monumental to think that a minority can get this certification. You know, and even with the navigator, she was telling me that how hard it was and the things that they wanted. So it's just a comment about, you know, I don't know how else, if other minorities have had this problem with trying to get certified as a state-owned minority business. It just is, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And I didn't know if it was some kind of roadblock that they put to limit minorities or I'm just stupid and I couldn't fit me, but it was brutal.
I agree. I experienced that myself. But did you get any benefit out of being MBE or EDGE?
Not yet.
For my family business, neither. We didn't get any business out of it.
All you can do is say you got it and put it on your website.
Yes.
Tell some clients.
But anyway.
And when you tell your clients, it's very tricky because it's like, are you a diversity hire? Are you, one of those, oh, you got it because, you're Asian. You're a minority, you got it.
No.
So yeah, it's very tricky, but.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. With that, are we gonna do? There's a couple questions, more questions. Wendy is coming. Thank you, Wendy.
More than a question, I just wanted to share my story again. I'm also one of the 100,000 resettled refugees from Nepal, but I grew up most of my time in India as an illegal immigrant to go to my school and college and work for my job. So fortunately, like some of you, I was able to come and speak English, but still struggling here. So some of the programs that we have, particularly about CRIS and other refugee resettlement organizations, we haven't seen. They have programs for connecting to the job placement. They have program for language to learn English and get a citizenship program. They have programs for assistance to apply for food stamps and for Medicaids and things like that. But I haven't seen, I've traveled many states that no programs in refugee resettlement agencies have been developed as an entrepreneurship. There are a lot of people from the countries that are coming here, either from refugee program or from some other visas, that they come with a wealth of knowledge and experience to become or are already running their own business back home. But when they come here, it's all the challenge, including languages, the logistic, the system, how to start a business. So there are no programs. So recommendation could be anybody from the lobbying side or anybody who could do work with resettlement agencies, and post-resettlement refugee organization could opt for the entrepreneurship program. That will help basically navigate how to connect with the technical assistance and get. For me personally, I have started my journey by myself. I went to the bank in 2012. I came here in 2009. I went to local bank and credit union to ask for $50,000 loan to start my own business. All the bank, I think I applied for 7 of those with the help from a score, a navigator, a mentor, all declined because my personal credit score was low, number one. Number two, they didn't see my capacity of running a business in the United States. They didn't see anything what I've done back home. So these are the challenges. So with friends and families resources, I started my business in 2012, focusing in diversifying financial services and home healthcare businesses. We employ over 500 people today. And I'm willing to help for any other people. And we also help navigating a small business loan who would like to get SBA loan or any other kind of loan. But that's some we build up from there. But like me, there are so many people new in the country today or maybe struggling. I have met few people from another community who came to my office in Reynoldsburg a couple of days ago to help. Hey, can you help me to start business? They came here 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but they still struggling how to start a business. They wanted to do, they have a lot of spirit to do it, to become an employer. But as you mentioned, they are still in the factory.
Yes.
They're still working $15, $16 an hour of work, but they wanted to be an employer, but there's no pathway towards entrepreneurship. So we have to figure it out. Maybe there are, but we have not been able to access that.
Thank you.
This
Thank
type
you.
of conversation can help us navigate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think together we have a long road to take. Together we'll make it through. Together we'll help out each other to get, the social economics move on or thrive. Maybe let us teach our children to thrive. But for our generation, maybe it's very, very difficult. You can cry until the cows come home, and I don't think nothing's happened. But let us move on to our next generation. Let us do our final questions to the panelists. Okay.
I don't have a question. I thought we were getting ready to move to closing. So go ahead and with your final question.
Okay. The final questions is the last question, but not least. Issues. What do you perceive as the most pressing issues facing the Asian community in Ohio today? You want to start,
Okay.
Harry?
Okay. The most pressing issue, not only to the Asian, but in Ohio, Central Ohio today, is public transportation, dependable transportation. If this city code is made like 70 years ago, and people need to have a car to make the job. If they don't have a car, they could not make a job, and it is challenging to make a car in the first point. So it is not only Asian, but all the people's issue is that one. The other issue among the Asian is unity. United we stand, divided we fall. So we, all the community, needs to Asian, and not only Asian, whosoever like-minded, come together and start something new for the betterment of the community. Like the most pressing issue is mental health. Innovation, exploration in business techniques, transfer of business, like ideas transfer, kind of thing like that. And the other problems is like understanding between the mainstream community and the minority communities, like the things like we already discussed about racism, harassment, civil rights violations, anti-Asian, and all these things, like, if we work on all these things via communications, establishing some communication procedure, innovation and communication, For example, media, social media, or like the media, like the news media or something like that. If we create among the Asian, like that will educate our people. And from education, people will transform from this way to another way. So there are a lot of things, but I want to say that these are the most pressing now.
Thank you, Harry.
Yeah,
Anyone else? Nga, you want to add?
And I think it's come to language again. Language is always a huge problem to our newcomers to the US. And another thing is cultural differences, because something but probably good to him, but not good to my culture. So that thing we need to state in that too. Just like in this, when I have a refugee, I always tell my sponsoring churches, an owl, the bird, over here, it is a intelligent mark, blah, blah, blah. But in Vietnamese culture, you give them that and now you scare them to death, because that is a very bad thing to us. So it's something like that, then we need to tell people, otherwise they say that, what are you doing to me?
Thank
The
you, Nga.
cultural differences is very important to us too.
Thank you, Nga. Anybody else? Melise? Faith?
Just to add on, I also agree with Harry that unaddressed mental health is one of the biggest issues facing the Asian community in Ohio. I'm a little biased because that's what I focus on, but that's the top priority for me.
With what Harry had mentioned is the transportation, it does not just affect the like employment, but also like when it comes to like taking care of themselves, like they can't go to like their doctor's appointment because they can't go from one place to another. So that's one of the things. And also like navigating the healthcare system, I think that's also a big problem in the Asian community. I know like just even like a normal Ohioans had a problem with that, but with us, on top of the language barrier, I think getting the right resources with the healthcare is another issue that should be addressed in the Asian community.
Thank you, Faith. I think for the conclusion of these issues, pressing issues, I think it still lies on each individual community's sustainability. We need something to sustain our community, to help our people thrive to wherever they need to be. We need to work with one individual, one family at a time to help them through. The pressing issues lies on that. The funding, the sustainabilities will also lies on funding, money. But where can we get that? How can we prove to the government entities that we need the funding to sustain our communities? With that, I know Ms. Erica wants to say something. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say we have about 19 people that have been online, so I want to say thank you to the people who are online. And Mary D, she leads Asian Services in Action. She also helps immigrants open businesses, as well as her agency has been coordinating mental health first aid training for several years, and so she's online. So thank you for that resource. And again, the name of the organization is Asian Services in Action, for those who are interested. Before I just give a few words of, to close, can we give our moderator and our panelists a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing authentic voices to the community and raising awareness of the issues that are facing the community collectively, but also the individual communities as well. MACC is looking forward to being a resource. Dr. Cora, do you have any closing remarks before we wrap up?
Again, just to thank our panelists, Na and
Cora,
Melise.
can I say one word?
Yes, yes.
Thank you all for listening to us, hearing us out, and perhaps helping us to resolve the problems in the future. And I hope this is not going to be the last time we're going to continue to have this kind of conversation in the future. And thank you, Dr. Munoz, for arranging this from the beginning. Ohio Asian Health Coalition, MACC, and everybody that sponsored this event. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent comments. I know we don't have enough time, but the conversation needs to go on. It's so special to hear from authentic voices, and that you all have shared very personal but very profound examples of the problem as well as solutions. I know this is recorded. We have to revisit all your comments because they were really, really significant for us to consider as we move forward. I like Harry's comment about unity, not only unity amongst our Asian subgroups, but also collaboration and in unity with other groups that really would, when we have a common goal, then we can be able to work with it and be more successful. And yes, language is the biggest problem, and mental health, like Melise said, and I totally agree with that. The Ohio Asian American Health Coalition is really focusing on mental health because we know that this problem is increasing and is impacting our young folks, our elderly, and actually in all segments of society, there are mental health challenges. And education, we will do that. And I'm jotting it down because as we continue our OMAS funded projects, we will create resources, opportunities, preventative services, addressing mental health challenges, and language issue. But these are broad issue that has been going on. But as Buntan said, together we can do this, and we'll do it one at a time. And certainly when we collaborate, we will have strength. Thank you, Buntan, for such an excellent way of moderating, and to Director Crowley and Wendy and Sarah and all the audience who participated in person and online. We can continue this conversation. The Ohio Asian American Health Coalition is willing and ready to help and to connect you with different community agencies in Central Ohio, in Franklin County, and in the state, because we are a statewide organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cora. Yes, you give her a hand, please.
Thank you, Cora.
MACC is also a statewide organization. This was just the beginning of just one conversation about bringing authentic Asian voices to the community. And so we will have more in-depth conversations around mental health, a series of conversations with Dr. Cora and others going forward. So this is not the end, this is just the beginning. Look forward to seeing you as we have more in-depth conversations, and also if you are a resource or know resources or faith leaders that we can tap in with, please provide that information. We will be happy to make a connection. And thank you all for being here, for all of you that's in the room. Really appreciate it. Thank you.